Sometimes a single sentence can tell you more about global politics than an entire treaty. Today, we're going to break down a really clever joke from a top Indian official. It perfectly weaves together cricket, economics, and diplomacy, and it gives us this incredible peek into the US-India relationship. Okay, so here's the line. At first glance, it just sounds like some friendly sports trash talk, right? But believe me, this one sentence is an absolute masterclass in diplomacy. It's packed with hidden meaning about trade and foreign relations. So what is really going on here? To really get the joke, you have to picture the scene. We're at a reception hosted by the US ambassador to India, Sergio Gore. And the person telling the joke? India's Union Minister Piyush Goyal. So yeah, it's a friendly setting, but we're talking about two incredibly high-level officials here. All right, to peel back the layers of this joke, we first have to talk about the game. Let's start with the cricket reference, which is what gets the whole thing started. So this wasn't just some random comment pulled out of thin air. The joke was actually a direct comeback to the US ambassador, Sergio Gore. He had just playfully reminded Minister Goyal about how a recent T20 Cricket World Cup match between their countries went down. And here's the first major clue. The ambassador pointed out that the US lost to India by a margin of 18%. Now, you gotta remember that number, 18%. It is the key to this entire joke. Okay, so we've got the cricket score, but the real genius of this joke, and what makes it so brilliant, is the second layer. This is where sports and international trade collide. This is where it gets really interesting. Minister Goyal is using this shared moment, the cricket match, to talk about something way more serious and complex, international trade policy. There's a whole other meaning packed into that number, 18. And what do you know? It just so happens that 18% is also a hugely significant number in US-India trade. The United States had recently adjusted tariffs on certain Indian goods to, you guessed it, exactly 18%. All of a sudden, that number has a powerful double meaning. And there it is. That's the punchline. The 18% loss in the cricket match perfectly mirrors the 18% tariff rate. Goyal's joke is so clever because it suggests that, hey, maybe with better trade terms like a 0% tariff, the US could have had a better outcome on the cricket field. It's this witty, diplomatic way of linking two totally separate things. Now, this kind of remark isn't just a funny one-off comment. It's actually a textbook example of a much wider and really effective diplomatic strategy. This is a classic case of what's known as sports diplomacy, using a shared love for sports to talk about complicated international issues. You might have heard of ping-pong diplomacy between the US and China back in the 70s. Well, Minister Goyal's joke is basically a modern, super concise version of that very same powerful idea. So you might be asking, why do it this way? Why not just schedule a formal meeting? Well, because talking about things like tariffs can get a little tense. By using a shared cultural touchstone like cricket, these officials can approach a tricky subject in a positive, friendly way. It's all about building rapport. Okay, so it was a fantastic joke, super clever. But why does it actually matter? What does this little piece of banter really tell us about the bigger picture? So what's the big takeaway from this one little joke? It shows us that diplomacy isn't always about stuffy meetings and formal treaties. A lot of the time, it's about building personal relationships, finding common ground, and using culture as a bridge to discuss the really tough topics. This seemingly small moment, it speaks volumes about the strength and the friendly nature of the US-India relationship. So, the next time you hear a world leader make a seemingly off-the-cuff remark, remember this story. It's a powerful reminder that in the high-stakes arena of global politics, even a simple joke can be a very strategic move. Which really makes you wonder, right? On the world stage, is anything ever just a joke?